giving the young people writing prompts and them coming back with something that is kind of what you'd imagine but better and more interesting and more creative.
Every single week there's been something new to write about, which has been really exciting.
I struggled with creative blocks, and the creative activist project gave me lots of new ideas and lots of stories to tell in my work.
The freedom to be able to try out different creative ways of sharing stories. It's been fantastic to see the group work with performance, with music, with visual art to create something that is just totally new and totally unexpected.
Realising that it's not always going to be about what you envision it to be, and there's a lot of different people, a lot of different skill sets and backgrounds, and everyone collaborates to make it something that wasn't what you thought it was going to be, but something better.
It helped me with telling my stories in my weaving, and I use it to share all the stories, my art.
I've just been really blown away by the sheer range of stories that we have, stories that we've not told before.
It was just really interesting to hear about specific people's stories, which obviously I hadn't heard before.
Stories of how different people came to Manchester, stories of their experience in Manchester. Really surprised when we learned about the internment camps in this country. So for people who came as refugees from Nazi Germany, who arrived and then at the outbreak of war were declared enemy aliens and that they were put in camps.
It's quite shocking because a lot of innocent people were arrested during World War II in England, and we're seen as the good country, but actually we weren't that great.
Yeah, I was surprised that there were still camps and stuff going on in our country at the same time.
Because it's not really talked about as much as it should be.
People who were already in England, who you think of as quite distant from the Holocaust, and the way those stories affected people in kind of other ways, that the Holocaust wasn't just about the camps, and those stories of kind of fear and displacement in other ways. This project has been really about trying to humanise those stories and trying to say that every single person affected by the Holocaust was a real person whose family love them as much as you love theirs, who have kind of dreams like you do and fears like you do, and then opening a newspaper and seeing the migrants who come on small boats being sort of dehumanised and talking about as if their kind of feelings and experiences are in some way not as real as ours.
Obviously it's very different, the Holocaust, it was really bad, but like the internment camps are quite similar to like immigrant camps, and we've not really changed as much as I would have liked to.
Kind of working on this project and then seeing that kind of story in the newspaper has definitely been really sort of eye-opening and made you think about those current events in that way.
Specifically this area of Manchester, the kind of Holocaust-related history and all the immigration history I hadn't considered very much, especially since I go to school here. It was kind of like, well, yeah, this is a Jewish area now, but I didn't consider why, and I didn't consider that it's an important place to be, and it's important to keep talking about these kinds of stories.
It's made me think, gosh, I wish I'd asked my grandparents more when they were still alive, because they were in this country before the Holocaust, but again, I think it must have affected their lives in ways that I never really thought about or understood. So I kind of think about their lives slightly differently and wish I'd asked them more when I had the chance to. Definitely made me think that, yeah, I do want to, as much as I'm kind of writing my own stuff, I do want to keep working with young people and non-professional writers alongside that as well, because I think it's made me, just reminded me what it's like to just write something for the pleasure of it, and because you're kind of curious and interested in that and not always writing things because they'll be on in a certain way. So definitely I'd like to keep that.
It's really brought to focus the importance of working with young people, of centering young people in projects, especially about memorialisation, and especially if they're going to have a lasting impact.
I had to go home and make sure that the information I was bringing about my own family was correct. And yeah, it's interesting to be able to delve back with like my grandparents and hear about their Holocaust stories, and then also being asked by my friends, where do you keep going after school on Wednesday? It's like, well, I'm doing this really interesting project, and people don't really talk about it unless prompted, but it's to have that prompt I think is really beneficial.
I talk a lot to my friends about the Holocaust now, and I talk about it in language they understand and is engaging.
And definitely it's made me more, I've been reading a lot more kind of books about that time period, so I think it's definitely made me also reiterated the importance of keeping telling those stories and keeping sharing those stories.
And I do a lot of advocating, and I'm going to continue with my art on the Holocaust.
It's made me really excited to work on co-creation projects in the future, because I think it's such a rewarding process that I've really enjoyed.